Hi, welcome to the Vaguely Anime Podcast. I'm sitting in this seat, so I'm doing the intro. Fuck you, Mike. I'm one of the hosts, Sage. Other host, Mike. He's not in the host seat, so
Hi,
I'm doing the
Mike.
intro.
Today
we're talking about fanfics.
we're talking about the degenerate shit.
Yeah, because
we
it's
are
just
the
the two of
degenerates,
us. It's
yeah.
just the two of us, so we get to have the whole hour just for like.
Yeah. We're thinking of coining it. What did we say in the chat?
Degen.
Well, we said Degen hour, but then it was cultured corner.
Oh yes, cultured corner.
Which it's great because we're cornered.
Yes,
you know,
there we go.
It's even better. You
It
know,
works out.
So this is. I think we're gonna go with the cultured
Can
corner.
we put that like on screen, like?
Like in the
Yeah, like
rainbow?
imagination, but cultured corner.
Yeah. Because we are the degenerates of the group that, admittedly talk about the filth we get into.
But I feel like we just have objectively good taste.
We're the cultured
and we're
ones.
not too prude to admit that we like certain things.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Like, I feel like there are people who I know who like anime who, like, act like they've never ever watched a cultured anime before or, like, read a doujin, and I'm like, don't fucking lie to me.
Right? Yeah, like at some point you
like
end
you're
up
lying
there.
to yourself and you're lying to me, and I don't appreciate it.
Yeah, at some point you end up there.
You know, like,
You just do.
It's I think truly it is the natural order of things.
It really is.
Like, you can only be an anime fan or even a manga fan for so long without, even if it's just like you stumble upon it accidentally, like
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Right, like even if like you're not into it, like whatever, I guess that's fine. Like
Right, like if you find out, oh, it's not for me,
Right.
no problem, but you can't sit there and tell me you didn't do
But
it.
you're also one of those people that will not read cultured manga or watch cultured anime of things that you like, right?
Right.
Yeah, see that's where I'm going for, and
But-
the
and-
difference is I have discovered shows from the cultured side of the anime.
And what's funny though is because I don't do that for like anime and manga that I like, but I'll do it with fanfics. Is that weird?
I mean, I feel like fanfics. I know they're not, so I'm going into this no understanding they're not because they can get pretty fucking gross.
Right.
But like, it feels like fanfics are less intense because you're not seeing the character.
I guess. But I also, in my like own brain of like how it works out is, especially if it's like cultured anime of things I like, a lot of anime is high schoolers,
Yeah.
and I don't really like need to see that.
You see, it's
So in a-
powerful of you don't think about it.
Well, but there's the thing. Fanfics, a lot of the times, they'll just do like a 18 plus like AU.
Well, yeah, but also
Or
like a lot of
aged up, or like
a lot of cultured things also say that, and are they? No, but like they're like, hey, these all characters within are 18 and up, and then you're like, these are the exact same designs from that show, and like you're gonna tell me that person is, and it's like, you know what? Just don't think about it. Just like obviously, if you see certain tags, which I'm not going to say, just to
Right.
keep it PC. Not PC. You're not to get demonetized.
I
and we don't
understand what
make
you're
money.
I know what
Yeah.
you're trying to say.
That like, you know, you see certain tags of younger named tags, and you're like, all right, I'm pulling out of that.
Yeah, no.
You know, because like that is very clearly. Yeah, she's a 300-year-old witch or whatever, but like, fuck that. I don't want to.
I personally like. I really don't understand the appeal because I'm obviously not the target audience
Like,
for that.
it's-
But
it's-
for me, I'm just like, I don't know why somebody wants to see that, because even though like that whole argument of like, oh, well, it's just drawings, I'm like, yeah, but the concept is
Yeah.
still a real thing.
Because like, there's
You
those
mini.
moments. There's those moments where like, you know, because me and Sage, as we've talked about,
Sage and I. I'm sorry.
me and Sage have talked about where we're like, we're in it for the plot sometimes. I want those 200 plus, 300 plus
I
fucking
want
cultured
like
manga.
multiple chapters, like doujins where it's like 100 and like 90 pages or like 200 something pages. I'm like, hit me up. Although I do get mad when you see that, right? Like before you've clicked on it, it says like, let's say like 300 pages, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, oh hell yeah, like I can get into it. And then it does the story, and then like let's say 2-3 chapters go by, and it's like the end, next story. It's just a collection. I'm like,
It's the most
I
infuriating
feel like I'm
shit.
getting bamboozled.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
Especially when it's good.
Right? I'm like, what was the point? Why are you tricking me? And then the next story is like something so completely different, like not even close to similar.
And it's not even as good. Or like sometimes they are just as good, but they're not what you wanted. You wanted the continuation of that one story.
Yeah.
And like oh god, that shit pisses me off when that happens. And like it's like I don't even like there's also the problem of usually what happens with the longer ones is they have to appeal to different things with each chapter, so sometimes they do throw in like a lolly tag or whatever, and
right.
You're like, fucking why? And so
right.
you're just like, all right, skipping through this chapter, and you're like clicking through until you get past it, and you're like, all right.
So I feel like I'm like pretty anti-harem for cultured anime, only because I think I don't know why, for me it's just kind of annoying. Like, I don't need to really see, like, a bunch of varieties of different titties. If that makes sense.
I am not picky when it comes to that. Like, I could absolutely, and I have absolutely read, 300-page stuff of just two people.
Right.
Or whatever. Although, a lot of times, too, they ruin it by throwing in an NTR at some point or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, fucking, god damn it. But, like, but... I don't know. Sometimes I like the variety, Sometimes you just because like you're still getting the same story through line, but you're getting the variety of like character interactions.
But when it's like either every other scene or like every other chapter is like a new girl, I'm like, there's too many girls. I don't need to see like 10 girls.
There's also usually like I feel like what happens is you get the main girl in the first chapter, right?
Right.
And then the second chapter is usually starts off with main girl, and then third girl gets introduced. They end up, like
third,
second girl, third person. Second girl gets introduced, and then like he trips. And all of a sudden they're going at it,
right?
Because that's how it goes,
right?
And then it ends with like first girl walking in and being like, Nani? And then you're like, oh shit. And then the next chapter is just both of them going at it with him. And it's like, all right, well, sure. Whatever. Like
that for me, like, I don't think that's as bad. But when it's like, if it's not a gangbang, I don't need to see them do it 10 separate times with 10 separate people.
It's funny because I actually usually don't like gangbangs.
Same.
Like
it's just messy for me.
If I'm reading the harem, I would rather just be one person or two people or whatever. Like there are some times where it's fine because like it's a taking turns aspect or whatever.
Right.
So like it's like whatever. But I don't need to see like just fucking people towering over this man, rubbing themselves on his leg while they're waiting for shit. And you're like, whoa.
It's weird. The main reason why I don't like it, especially if it's a doujin, is because it just looks messy on the page. Like, I don't like the way, for the most part, that like it's drawn out because there's just so much going on, and then you have like fucking like 30 tiny text bubbles all over the place. I'm like, I don't need this. This is way too much.
Yeah. I like. There are some. I feel like I should give you like numbers, the numbers, and see if you think that the ones that I particularly like are good or not.
Okay, wait. I don't know any of the numbers because I literally never reference them by numbers.
I don't either, but we can't say the names.
I know. Well, here's what I'll do.
You're just gonna pull up your phone. And I'm gonna look it up. Is that what's about to happen?
What was I gonna do? Keep talking while I figure out my life.
Well, so because like I don't know. Sometimes you want the I don't want to say mystery of it because usually with harem with cultured manga you can tell who the fuck's gonna win.
I was gonna say I don't know how much mystery would be involved.
Usually there isn't. Sometimes there is. Sometimes it's a curveball, and sometimes that curveball is one that you don't want.
Right.
And that's just a bummer. But like, I don't know. Like,
do you want tags or you just want search?
You just want me to search what I'm talking about? I know the name of one of them, but not the other.
Okay.
So I could just look it up.
Okay,
I guess.
Just type it in, and I'll tell you if I read it or not.
Okay. The setup for this on the phone is interesting. I've never actually done it that way. I've never used my phone.
Really?
I use my iPad.
Is it different setup on the iPad though? Wouldn't that still be like mobile version? Oh, I guess it would be less crowded, right?
Yeah. This one's
You
like a
go
classic.
on your like 3-monitor computer at your standing desk.
Yeah. I assert dominance at my standing desk. No,
Did you ever use DeviantArt?
like way back in the day.
Okay, so when I was in middle school. No, middle school? I feel like no, like early high school. I used to go onto DeviantArt, to like look at fan art and stuff. And I remember I stumbled upon fan fictions on DeviantArt, and they had a really, really shitty format,
Right.
especially on the computer because it was like this. And the text was really, really small, so it was like god awful to look at. And I don't know why, especially on DeviantArt, the stories were always like extremely short.
Right.
And then I remember there was fanfic.net, which was like mid-tier fanfics, and then the best one, Archive of Our Own, which has the best ones. Although there's so many now compared to when I was in like high school. It's insane. Like if you don't remember the title of like one that you enjoyed or you want to like catch up on,
Right.
you will literally never find it again because there's just so many pages.
Right. Okay, so here's one of them.
Okay, let me see.
So that's like a classic.
Hold on.
And like I feel like sometimes the harm.
Oh yeah, I
works.
feel like I've only read like portions of this, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, not this in its full.
Honestly, it's a pretty solid read.
Is it?
Yeah. There are a few of the characters where you're like, fuck, all right, I gotta skip through this chapter. But like,
So many
past
tags.
that.
Jesus Christ.
oh well, yeah, it's like 200 plus pages. I mean, once you get enough pages, that shit, the tags go
I
up
guess
there.
that's fair. Although I always get upset when I like look up a certain tag, right? And then I see like a cover image where I'm like, ooh, this looks good. I click it and I have to literally, I'm like, where is the tag that you told me this had? Because
Right.
it's not here.
One of the most annoying things is like when you see a really good cover and you're like, oh, this shit should fucking
This is
slap.
gonna
This looks
slam.
like it's exactly what I'm looking for at this moment. And you click on it, and then you see the tag that you're just absolutely not looking for,
And you're like, God.
and you're just like, fucking
damn
god damn it. Like, R
Right.
NTR or Shotokan,
Right.
that shit, or Lolly.
I
and
feel like
that,
I've
and you're just like
literally never
immediately
read an NTR one. Is that like
Really?
I don't know how I didn't even like I haven't even stumbled upon it.
Really?
I'm not
It's
I
everywhere,
I'm not
dude.
I've literally never read an NTR one.
It's
I don't even think I've
everywhere.
seen an NTR one.
bullshit.
I'm not kidding. Like I couldn't think of one where I'm like, yeah, that fits like the NTR like
Did you ever read
description.
Metamorphosis?
Oh, okay, I guess that's fair.
Like, I
All
mean,
right.
like that's, well, maybe that's not NTR, I guess.
I don't.
Because she's not really dating anyone.
Yeah, I feel like that doesn't count though. It's not like
But there's no way you
I
haven't.
feel like isn't NTR more like a more serious relationship?
serious in terms of like the first 2 pages are they're banging. She's like, oh, that was great, and then but it's like it's clear that he's not that good at it, and she's only satisfied because like she doesn't know any better sex. And then the next page is like a bigger dude with a fucking goddamn elephant trunk, and you're like, that would kill somebody if they had sex with that. And then you're like, and then he's banging, and then they're like,
oh, okay. Then I
like,
have. I'm sorry. I
yeah, like
Well,
they're everywhere,
no.
dude.
The reason why I think I haven't is because in my brain I always think of NTR as like a really serious relationship or like a married couple,
Also that.
and then like the wife cheats, and then the husband is like devastated by it.
Yeah, so the way that like, because sometimes the problem is sometimes art's too good for its own fucking good,
I know.
and you click on something and you see a tag you're not into, and you're like, but this art kind of fucking slaps. So you're like, all right, so if it's like NTR or whatever, you skip the first few pages so you never see the first person, and so that there's only the one person. and then you just don't really read the dialogue, and you're just looking at the art, and you're like, all right, you get to whatever you're looking for, and then you're like, all right, cool, I'm not at the last page or last few pages, X out of that shit and never think about it again.
Do you ever get mad when the dialogue is bad?
Yeah.
Me too.
Like there like I said, there are certain times, right? Like in the situation I was just talking about, you don't read the dialogue.
Right.
Because you're just there for the art.
There's certain ones where you don't read the dialogue.
Like the step,
right?
Stuff like that. Because sometimes the art's fucking great, and you're like, I just won't read the dialogue. I just don't read the dialogue.
Turn off your brain. You forget how to read.
Yeah.
And you can only comprehend pictures.
100%. And you're like, because sometimes again, the art is too good for its own fucking good.
Do you ever find ones where you don't like the tag, but the art's really good, so you find it in like the Chinese or Japanese version, so you can't read it anyway, even by mistake?
I have done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially because I feel like especially now, there's literally so many options.
You ever get those ones where like you're reading multiple chapters and then it's not done, but like the Japanese or Chinese is further than the English, and you're like,
I get upset when they're not done, because there's been ones where it's like, let's say like 5-6 chapters in, and I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm starting to read it because I'm thinking it's gonna be a contained story in 5 or 6 chapters. And then it's not, and I see more chapters, but only in Chinese or Japanese, and I'm like, I hate my life.
Do you? So I've been reading one where like it's like 12 chapters in or something like that, and it's slowly starting to get slightly questionable. Where I'm like, is this about to turn into an NTR? Like, is that what's about to happen? It's giving the hints. Because like there's this one character that's been introduced, and he's been around for like 3 or 4 chapters now, and like. And he thinks he's like hot shit, and he's trying to get with the girl, but like in a creepy bad way.
Oh
now.
No! Okay.
And so you're worried it's gonna slap on 2 tags.
Oh,
in the next chapter.
I understand what you're saying.
And I'm like, for the love of God, this has been a really nice story for the most part.
You don't want it to be ruined?
Yeah, no, I don't. Like I don't even want it to be to pretend being ruined. I want this man to, because it seems like that's where the story's going. I want this man to, like, in the first attempt to do something questionable, just get the shit rocked out of him, and it never comes up again. Like, I want this man to be like walking up behind her and then just gets hit by a fucking truck, like, or like gets punched in the face. I don't even want it to get questionable.
Right.
I want him to maybe start doing the questionable shit and get just fucking murdered before it even happens.
Before he even gets a chance.
Yeah, like, and I don't want to see the murder because I don't want that other tags to fucking put on there.
Right.
You know, I just want this dude to be in a hospital. I want this man to never come up in the story again. I want him to get his shit rocked and never happen again, because I'm like, I'm enjoying the story. Do not fucking ruin it in a chapter or 2.
You know what? I don't understand why this is like a thing in like doujins and stuff is I don't understand why like a lot of times like certain types of stories will have like gore involved, and I just don't understand the appeal.
There's the gore, there's bodily fluids,
right? Not into that.
Yeah, and then like vor and shit like that.
Yeah, I don't like when they're like,
or like the giant ladies.
No, don't get that.
Or the short people, the tiny, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
I think for me, it's mainly like when it's extremes. I don't really, I don't understand why. Like in my own brain, I'm like, I don't know why somebody would want this, and to the point where I get so confused and I'm thinking about it so hard that I'm like, I don't even want. Like, I'm not going to enjoy this. I'm thinking too much. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess it's like. I guess it's just for those people that can only really experience that in those specific ways, and it's like, I'm sorry that's what you're into, dude.
Know,
like, I feel bad for you.
Like, I don't like when, like, if it's like sweat, fucking disgusting. If everybody is like pouring buckets of sweat, it's so gross to me. Even though, like, I understand very natural thing happens to all of us, it's so gross. Even in real life. If somebody is too sweaty, I literally get like, I think about it too much.
Right.
It's really I think that's a me problem though.
Yeah, I don't know. There's absolutely certain tags where you're like, I don't know who's into this, and I'm sorry that you're into this, but God, am I not? And I'm like, And I'm not even religious, and I'm like, I thank God every day that I'm not into this fucking
Right?
shit.
Like, there's just certain ones. Like, I don't like when feet are involved. Mainly
Yeah.
because I think feet in general are gross.
I mean, if it's purely feet related, then I'm like, I'm out. Like, but like if there's like that like 1 to 2 page like
it's like
foot job shit, and I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever.
if it's like a quick little like, oh, here's for the feet guys kind of thing,
Yeah.
that's fine. But if it's all foot related, I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I can put up with it for like a page or two where I'm just like, because then I can look at other things, because usually it's that one shot where it's like,
It's full foot to full dick, and then it's like, okay, bye.
But then also like there's the entire lady behind it,
Right.
And you're like, all right, I could just look at other things, like we're cool, like, you know. But like when it's entirely like the entire thing, I'm like, nah, all right, I'm out of here.
No,
And
it's just like, I feel like one, feet unattractive, but also I feel like you can only do so much with feet, and so it's so stale and repetitive, if that makes sense, because what are you gonna do? Cut a hole in the foot?
yeah,
Like,
you're right.
I don't understand.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Have you
too.
seen those?
Oh god.
The like the fleshlights, but it's a foot.
Oh god.
Wait, let me see if I can find this. So I can show you.
I know. You just reminded me of it. I know. It's
They're
God.
really funny to look at.
Like I thank God, the God I don't believe in.
You're like,
that
wow,
I'm
I
like,
made such good choices in my life to not be.
Like I'm already and like we're not gonna show this on screen.
No, we're not gonna show on screen, but like it looks
It's-
like a real foot, right?
I hate it. I hate it.
It has
so
nail
much.
polish.
Yeah, no thanks.
Ugh.
It's yeah, no. Like there are absolutely those certain tags where you're like, a lot of this is gross, and then there's those other tags where it's like questionable, but they don't put in the other tags, and you're just like, do I think about this or do I not think about this?
I
Like,
feel like there are ones where sometimes, you know how like sometimes in like if it's like a tentacle tag, but instead of being like either like, I feel like there's like 3 versions where it's like a tentacle monster and you see the monster with tentacles, or just like floating like disembodied tentacles, or it's like weird blobular ones.
I was gonna say like a pit, like there's pits of tentacles.
Yeah,
a lot.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like for me, I don't know why, but the blob ones
I tend to avoid.
seems weird.
I tend to avoid tentacles pretty much exclusively at this point. That's one of those tags at this point that like I click off of.
I like if a story, like if it's a long one and it happens to have it in it, like I won't click off, but I won't go like specifically for tentacles, if that
Okay,
makes sense.
so there also another one just came to my mind that is a questionable one, but I'm going to send to you and see what you're
okay.
think. Because it's absolutely one that it's in the same, not in the same vein, I don't want to say, but it's in the same like hemisphere as like Metamorphosis in a way.
Okay.
And so I want to see what your opinion of it is, because like it's one of those ones where you're like, fuck, the art of this is so good, but God, there's so much shit in here that I'm like, I just need to be ignoring and skipping past. And you're just like, and that some of that shit's where you're like, you question yourself a little bit. You're like, no, I'm ignoring all the things I don't like here. Like, you know, like you're only there for what you do like. But yeah, like. Yeah, I pretty much exclusively at this point click off tentacles, and then like, and then there's like, we've talked about this before, I think even on the podcast, where like sometimes there's too much booba, you know? Sometimes there's too much.
If it's too much, like it's that same thing of like when it's like the giant ladies, right? Where if something is truly too much, even if it's like, let's say not too much boobs, but it's like too much thighs, too much booty,
or too much on the male's end,
right?
Like, you know?
Like what? Like I don't like extremes. Like I don't mind if they have big titties, but when it's like half their body, I'm not into it.
Yeah, like where you could like knock someone out with that shit and just be like fucking bam. Like
Also, what's the like the cultured face? What do you call that?
Oh, the ahigao or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
It doesn't. Surprisingly, in things I read, it doesn't come up super often.
Really, I feel like it's not that I feel like I see it all the time, but I feel like usually in like the cover art, they'll have it.
Mm.
Like even if it's not in like the actual story, but they'll have it like for the cover art. I don't know why. It's just for me, I don't think it's attractive. Like
How are you on the heart pupils?
I think that's really cute, actually.
Okay.
I love the heart pupils. I think that's adorable.
Okay.
But I don't like
I like the idea of thinking that something is adorable in a cultured manga where you're like, this lady's busy getting her fucking
she's
shit.
getting rammed,
She's
but the
getting-
hard eyes is really cute.
This lady's getting jackhammered, but the hard eyes, oh.
I don't know. Sometimes there's things that are cute. You don't think so?
I feel like cute's not the word I think of when someone's getting fucking railed. Like, you know, like their whole world's getting turned upside down. They're busy saying that fucking cringe shit where they're like, my mind's like going blank, and you're like, God, I hate this writing, but it's in every single cultured doujin or cultured manga on the planet, and you're just like, why does everybody write this? Like, it's so fucking cringy, but then like you get the hard eyes, and you're like, yeah, this is cute while they're getting
I think
fucking
the hard
destroyed.
eyes are really cute.
Like,
Also, I just remembered I read such a good BL, and I'm so mad at myself because I can't remember the title of it. I just know what it looks like. So if I ever find it again, which will be like
30 years from now.
30 years from now, when I finally get through like a 10,000 page freaking search list.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I do that where I remember something, but I can only remember the visuals. So I'll literally sit there and go through like tags that I think it will have. And then let's say like, I'll break it down. So let's say like one tag is like too generic. So it's like 500 pages.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to search all 500 pages because that's way too much. But then I'll try another tag that I think it has, and it'll be like 30 pages. I'm like, okay, I can sift through 30 pages and see if I find
To be
it.
fair, I've also done that.
But this one BL is just so good. It's like, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, put it down in the comments. It's like Mafia, but not.
Okay.
I would say closer to like Yakuza
Okay.
than like Mafia. Same kind of vibe, but you
Right.
know what I mean. But not, and like kind of royalty with a lot of like BDSM stuff going on,
Okay.
and it's like a mansion of boys, men, because they're all adults.
Right. Right.
And they all like have they're kind of like all
They should really
together.
change the term BL. Never even thought about that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But they're kind of all together, but not, because there's like obvious pairings where like, okay, they're the serious couple that's like actually together.
Right.
And I don't know why, but some of the couples are just so like tender and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm rooting for you. And I think that's the difference, at least between like cultured manga and like BLs, is you
Right.
really want to like, in most cultured manga, I'm like, I don't care about your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess that's like in part why I don't really like NTR doesn't really faze me, because I don't care.
I don't want to be seeing this one dude who's like love of his life is all of a sudden just destroying him emotionally, mentally, and physically. Like,
Yeah, for me, I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
I guess fair enough. I'm like, you know, I don't need to be seeing that.
I care so little about it that I didn't even realize I was consuming it.
I guess that's fair enough. I guess.
You know what I mean? But like, so for most like cultured manga or even in cultured anime, like I don't care about their relationships.
Right.
Because that's not really what I'm there for, unless it's one that
I feel like cultured anime specifically, I
Right,
literally
I fe-
do
that's-
not give a shit.
that's even more like less caring than
Yeah, especially because like a lot of times, sometimes the art's not even great, or
Right.
like whatever. So like, I feel like it's so much harder to find a cultured anime than it is cultured manga.
when it's a cultured anime that like you want to care about. You mean?
But in general, I feel like I have a much easier time finding cultured manga than I do cultured anime.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Like,
I mean, it's not like the market is small, but I feel like the majority of it is pretty bad.
yeah, because also you're not having great animation on it, like, because who's
Right.
gonna put fucking money towards it? You know,
Right.
like it's I don't know. Like I find that my default is usually cultured manga than it is cultured anime. Like if we discount the time we watched Power Pussy Rangers, right?
Right.
I don't remember the last time I watched cultured anime, and usually if I do, it's like classics I've went to fucking 50 billion times before.
Right.
Like,
I feel like I'm the same way, where I'll be like, I don't really watch a lot of new ones, mainly because who cares?
right.
it's just ones where I'm like, I remember liking this.
Yeah, like it's purely old classics where I'm like, I know this did the job before, so it'll do the job again, you know?
But in BLs, like, I really care about the relationships. I get like genuinely upset when things go wrong. I remember I was telling Colin this like maybe a year and a half ago. I was going through like a really, really big BL kick.
Right.
And I was reading one, and it was the most unsatisfying thing in the world. I got so mad. This thing was like 30 chapters.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was these two guys who were in a relationship, but it wasn't like going great.
Okay.
Right? Like their relationship was kind of down in the dumps, and they were trying to like kind of pick up their relationship and like work on it and stuff like that. And then one of the boyfriends like starts being like really abusive. And so the boyfriend leaves him because he's like, I deserve to be treated good.
Right.
And it literally ends with him going back to the abusive boyfriend. I was like, I am so unsatisfied. I'm unhappy. Why did I just invest this much time
Right.
for that?
Right.
I was really mad.
No, yeah. All right, so I did have a question that I thought of. Do you ever get upset when you find like a really good cultured manga, right? And like, or the art's just fucking slamming, but like this one specifically ain't for you, and you're like, fuck, I'm just gonna look up what this artist has done otherwise. And
Oh yeah,
it's
all
like
the time.
but it's like the only one that he has.
I do get upset because there are certain ones where I'll really like the art. Even like, let's say if the manga itself was like kind of meh, or I didn't even really like it. If I
Right.
really like the art, I will look up at the artist tag and see what else they have. And if that's the only one they have, I do get upset.
Like there are a few that I'm like this art was so fucking good. Even the story was great, and I'm like, fuck, I want more of this. And you look up and it's like it's the only one he has, and you're just like.
Also, is it just me, or is like,
or other ones they have aren't as good, like they're old or
Right.
something, and you're just like, fuck, like damn
like
it.
there was one. This is my problem. One, I never remember any titles. I can only remember visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, like I can if an art style is really, really distinct, I'll like know which person did it, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, this was the same.
Yeah.
But because I just don't care to remember the titles, even ones where I'm like, ooh, I want to remember this so I can come back to it,
Right.
out of my brain the second I like close out the tab. It's really awful.
Well, that's why I think because I favorite things where I'm like, oh, this was fucking banging, and or I favorite it just because I liked the artist, so I can click on it and go to the artist because you can't favorite artists.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, right. I wish you could, but like, so then you just favorite like one of their things, so you can go and find other stuff from the artist.
Do you have an account? How do you favorite things?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's not like a throwaway fucking random ass email that I made just for the
I
thing.
I don't know why. I just never thought to make one. That's pretty smart. I should do that.
Because now I like, especially like if I can't find anything, I have a whole bunch of shit that I favorited that I'm like, oh
feel
cool,
like
I can go
that.
back
Do you
to
know
this.
how much time I could save myself? Because then I wouldn't have to be like, I remember this specific panel. Scroll. Do you know how much time I spend doing that? It's ridiculous.
Make an account. It's the easiest shit on the planet. It's a random password I never remember that I just have as a saved thing.
Right.
Because it's not connected to any password I've ever made before.
Right.
And it's a name I don't ever use. Like,
right.
just don't have to think about it. Just fucking log in. I got favorites.
Just make it
and
rando, and you're like good to go.
100%. You should probably do that.
I probably
save you
should
some time.
Save myself all that effort every time.
Yeah. Like, that's pretty much why I did it. Like, so I don't have to, because I was like, for a while, it was like, shit, like, what the fuck was that one I was reading that I really liked? And it was like, oh, wait, I could just make an account and fucking favorite things.
Have you ever watched any of like the 3D tags?
No, I'm not a big fan. I usually think they look really bad.
Oh my god. I feel like for the majority they look really bad. And I remember one time, just like as a curiosity, because you know how like, what is it? They have like that preview screenshot, right? One time it literally looked so disjointed and awful. I was like, let me just click it, see what's up.
Right.
It was a mess. Like, just limbs like barely like attached to each other.
I feel like a lot of times any ones with motion are pretty bad.
Yeah, it was just so rough, and I was like, why do people want this? Like,
Okay, so in that vein, I don't remember if we've talked about this or not. I don't think we have. What do you like? A lot of times when I see certain censor styles, I'll just
Right.
immediately like be like, I don't fucking want to read this. Like
Mosaic the worst.
Mosaic or full censorship, where it's just white
Yeah.
completely.
The white completely, I find annoying because, and I feel like they do this actually a lot in BLs more than any other censorship. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but in my personal experience, that's what I've seen a lot more than anything else. And the reason why I think it's completely ridiculous is because it's just white, like, you still see the outline,
Right.
and then it's just a white void.
Mm-hmm.
Or, in my opinion, the worst version is it's like soft, like gradient almost.
Mm.
So it's shapeless,
Right.
but it looks like it's glowing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what
Yeah.
choices were made
Yeah,
here?
it's that and Mosaic I fucking hate. And like there are very very few Mosaics that I have like still read because like it was good enough
I
even
feel
with
like in cultured manga, I don't see a lot of mosaics. I feel
I
like
see
in anime,
mosaics.
it's a lot more common.
I see culture manga with mosaics fucking everywhere.
Really?
It's also usually like my main go-to, so maybe I'm just interacting with it more
Oh, I guess that's fair.
because
'Cause
like
I feel like usually I either get, usually it's either uncensored, or it's like
black bars.
the black bar censoring.
Black bars 100% fine. Uncensored the best option, but like black bars fine because you can get around that shit. That's
Black
whatever.
bar I've always thought was very funny because it's basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember I have such a distinct memory of one, and I think it was a One Piece one.
Okay.
Because I was like 15, and I don't know why I remember this so well. And it was a black bar censor one,
Mm-hmm.
but the black bar, it wasn't like one of those like thick ones like this.
Right.
For everything, it was like
Into the mic.
this big.
Into the mic.
It was like this big, tiny,
Yeah, yeah.
tiny. And I'm like, just don't put it. Like, you're wasting your time.
Right.
You're wasting my time. It was just a mess.
Yeah, it's funny because like I have like zero interest in One Piece cultured stuff because like
Same. I'm not really into it.
yeah, but like also just because the art style. They copy the art style, and the art style I don't think is very flattering for like Nami, Robin, whatnot. Like
Right.
they were hot pre the design change,
Right.
and then they changed the design, and now everyone's like fucking hourglasses with boulders on their chest, and you're like,
They're gonna break their fucking spines.
right? And you're just like, this is no longer attractive.
Like, it's that thing of extremes where I don't really mind if like the girls are skinny.
Right.
Like, who cares? But I do prefer it when they're like a little bit bigger, because when they're super tiny, like that kind of One Piece style, I'm just like, y'all,
Yeah. No, I agree.
this is ridiculous.
It's yeah, like so like a lot of times I have zero interest in anything that has to do with One Piece when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
And like
for the most part, I won't. I also, any time I see even like cover images for like My Hero stuff, I'm like, run away,
a lot of that shit's fucked up too.
escape from the children.
Yeah, no, a lot of that stuff is pretty fucked up too. There was, I think there's two of them. It's an aged up one
Mm-hmm.
of Deku and Uraraka, where it's like
Mhm.
they're aged up, like they are heroes. They are
Right,
they
right,
are-
right.
They look different too. They look older, and it's actually a really cute love story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this shit's fine. They are actively like 25 and up.
Right.
And they're like just being cute, adorable, like living their lives now. And I'm like, I'd read more of this shit, but like none of that other stuff. Like, so whoever that guy is doing those, like, I think it's like a 3. I think there's a third one on the way or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, whoever you are, sir, you're doing
a great
yeah,
job.
You're doing God's work. Like, these people are older, they're living their lives, and it's an adorable story that I don't have to worry about any questionable shit in.
Yeah,
nice.
You gotta.
Right. Like, I'm like, all right, man, proud of you. Good for you, sir.
Pat on the back for you, sir.
You're like, you're giving me what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I feel like that's in part why I do like fanfics, is because one, you're not seeing them like depicted so young.
Right.
But also, especially like if it's a media tag of like 18 plus AU or like they're in their 20s or something like that, I'm like, in my own brain, I can just immediately picture them older, if that makes sense. Right. Like,
I think there have been times, because like I said, like cultured manga and anime have led me to the actual shows.
right.
And I've liked them, but then I won't go back afterwards, because you watch the actual show and you're like, didn't realize people's age range here. All right. And you're like, all right, cool. Never going back to that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't now. It's
because
ruined.
like also the way they draw shit, it's so ambiguously aged,
Right.
except for specific tags.
Right.
They are very ambiguously aged. So you're like, all these people could absolutely be 18 and up.
Yeah.
And
like that's the whole thing. Like, and with the whole thing of like culture and anime and culture manga, like a lot of it is set in high school.
Right.
Like normal anime and manga. But they all look like fucking adults. And then when they introduce the adult characters, they look the same.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah. They're just like the same, but like taller.
Yes. I don't know why that's a thing. Where they're like, you know what? Same face, same bodies, just make them longer.
Oh, speaking of other tags that ruin shit, fucking goddamn ugly bastards.
Puke.
I actually I do know who those are for, because it's the people that are that tag and can't get laid. But I can't get laid and get the fuck over it. Like
But also,
Jesus Christ.
like, if you are like an IRL ugly bastard, do you want to watch
Yourself.
like, do you want like I?
Well,
That's why I never.
isn't it the same thing as like the cultured anime protagonist, where it's just shaggy haired, no eyes man?
I guess
It's
but like
it's
that,
the self insert.
But I feel like that self insert is so generic that you're like, yeah, whatever.
Also, usually because the ugly bastards are like doing really not okay shit.
And I feel like, but also with the ugly bastards, it's not just like they're like really disgusting.
And usually there's like 3 other tags attached to it that are also bad tags.
Like, I don't want to look at like a really gross, like.
There are so many times where you're reading one and you're like, or like reading because sometimes you just forget to look at tags.
Right, because you
Right.
just look at the cover art and you're like, all
I'm
right.
in. Yeah, I'm in. And then you just like you're reading and you're like, damn, like this girl is like fucking hot. Like we're rolling, we're getting like 4 or 5 pages in. You're like, all right, we're doing good. 6th page, enters a door and there's just a dude sitting there and it's like, oh, this is a teacher and that's not the thing and that's an ugly dude and you're like, fucking shit, X out, and you're like, God damn it.
I've been bamboozled once again.
Yeah. The amount of times that shit kind of happens too, though.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or they don't put in certain tags. Sometimes when they just lie to you.
I get actually mad when certain tags aren't added when it's like super necessary to add them, because I'm like, I don't want to see that. Like, just inform me that it's there
Right.
so I can avoid it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times in the ones where they don't put in the tag, the cover art is like super inconspicuous, like very like average looking, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll click on it.
How do you handle like the specifics? I think you'll get what I'm saying once I finish my thought. But like the specific tag where it's not okay, but then like two pages in, they're all of a sudden all about it. How do you handle that?
No,
shit?
I know what you mean, and it's funny because it's like in some of them, it starts out, the not okay is like literally one sentence sometimes.
Sometimes it is just one sentence.
And then it's just immediate into it. So for those ones where it's like the one sentence, for the most part, I'll just erase it from my brain.
Yeah.
But if it's like going on for a while,
Yeah. No. Wait. What? Yeah. Then you're like, all right, I'm out.
yeah, because I guess like I don't want to see like somebody not enjoying themselves, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, even if it's something I'm not into and they're like going off, I'm like, okay, not for me, but sure.
Right.
But when they're like not into it for a while,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, yeah, I can't.
Because you get those moments where like you see the tag, but like you can look at the
Right.
grid of all the pages and you're like, okay, so this is gonna be one of those ones where it's actually not like it is, but then
Right.
it isn't.
Like, how quick is the transition?
Right, and you're like, and again, I feel like this shit is such like a weird topic because like it is so weird to be like not desensitized, but yet still kind of, because you're like, normally I see those tags and I'm like, I'm out.
Right.
But then and then sometimes you see it and you're like, all right, well, like, let me look, and it'll be like, oh, it's only one page, and then it's all fine from there, and you're like, is this me being fucking like, am I broken now, or is this just like,
well, so here's what I think is a good. In my brain, this is how it makes sense. So I remember the first time I tried to watch Game of Thrones, right? And you know, in the first episode where Daenerys gets married off to Khal Drogo,
yeah,
and it's like that whole like pretty graphic rape scene,
yeah.
and that was why I didn't watch Game of Thrones for so
Is that
long.
in the first episode?
I think that's in the first episode.
Jesus.
So I didn't watch Game of Thrones for a very long time because I was like, that's not something I want to see,
Right.
right?
Also, hero Jason Momoa being like, apparently he was like the nicest person during all that. He was like,
Yeah, he-
constantly checking in on her.
Yes, he's a very good man, but that's not the point of what I'm saying.
I know.
Right? So you have something like that where it's like super graphic and it's going on for a while. So I was like, I gotta fucking go. But then like their love story progresses and you're like, okay, started off in a weird place, but you guys like figured out your shit. Like, I don't want to see the super graphic stuff, so like for the most part, like I'll probably skip over that.
Right.
And then if it turns out like if it's a long form story, right, I'll skip over that and then I'll just get to the nice part,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, where they're all like, ooh yeah, consent and everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
Like,
You're just like, why'd you start there then?
right.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I guess like that Game of Thrones, like that's like a fucking mainstream thing, and that's
Yeah,
even a
and
thing,
like,
and you're like,
I
alright.
feel like I've never really heard anybody like mention that. How everybody always talks about like Daenerys and Khal Drogo and how they're like so in love, and I'm like, y'all remember how that started, right?
Yeah, I guess it's weird. Like, I guess it's that degree of separation from reality.
Right.
Because, like, absolutely, shit like that in real life, like, nah.
Right.
Nah, fam. Like, and like, call it quits. Like, that shit's gross. But, like, I guess it's that separation where you're like, it's not reality. And so, like, you can just skip that first chapter or first
Right.
few
You just
pages.
pass over that and you get to the nice part.
Yeah.
But-
Humans are fucking weird.
Right? But it's the thing of like, you know, it's not real.
Yeah.
No actual people are like
Right.
suffering
Yeah.
from it. So you're just like, we'll just pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, I guess that's how that works, right? Because it's purely just that it's not real. Like that
Right.
there's no reality connected to this shit.
It's the disconnect of being like, I know this thing isn't like a tangible thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because like, so one of those ones that I'm gonna send you
Right.
is absolutely like probably the furthest into like, why am I reading this territory I've gone, basically.
Okay.
And I haven't gone back or further or whatnot, and like but it's like weirdly that disconnect is what makes it where I'm like, I got through it,
Right.
Because it's like there's shit in there that like usually I would never even get
Right.
there, but like it's because it's so fantastical
Right.
that you're like, I can easily like,
Separate yourself from
separate
it.
this completely.
Right.
And so I'm curious, I guess, what your thoughts will be on
Okay.
it. But
Also,
yeah.
can I just tell you about a video I once watched, and it was literally the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life?
Sure.
Okay. For anybody listening and you don't like your claustrophobia is a thing for you, don't listen to this part. We'll put it on the screen when I'm done talking about it, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
Okay.
so one time I was on Pornhub and it just came up like as a random suggested video.
Right.
And the like preview pic was a girl like sitting like knees up to her chest kind of thing, and she was like wrapped up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm bored. Let's just watch it. Let's
Right.
see what happens.
Yeah.
I shit you not. No sex involved in the
Uh-huh.
entire video. This video was like 40 minutes long.
Uh-huh.
It's just a girl. She's sitting on a bed. A guy wraps her up with like saran wrap and then tape and then more saran wrap and then more tape. And she's got a little like straw.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes outside and he goes tick, 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 and he digs a square hole and he plops her in there, covers her up, and then puts cement on top, still with the like breathing apparatus, right? And then I think it was like flash forward like a day, and he's breaking the cement and stuff, and I was like, why would you want this?
Yeah.
Why? Who is like, you know what? Bury me.
I feel like that's a person that just lost in the draw of life for what they're into.
Like that just seems. But okay, so not only is that what you're into, but you somehow found another person who's like, hell yeah, I'll bury you.
Well, it's like those people that are.
It's so scary to me. Like, what the fuck?
It's those people that are like into CNC,
What's that?
consensual non-consent.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, no, I don't understand that either.
And like, if somebody was like, if I'm like with somebody and they're like, hey,
This is what I want.
and I'd be like, nope, bye. Like, I couldn't even pretend to do that shit.
Off air, I
Ugh.
have to tell you a story.
Okay, because like, I also have a friend that I have a story for that too. But like, it's
We
like,
might have the same story.
but like that shit, like, I feel bad for that kind of person. And like, and like, look, like, it is CNC is technically still like, there's still the consent part of that, right?
Right.
But like, it's just. Nah, fam.
It's something that I guess because I personally, like, in my brain, I truly cannot understand why I would want that. I can't understand why somebody else would be like, hey, this is something I want to do.
I feel like it's
And
because
this
like
is-
I know people that
and
have
this is-
gone through.
And this is how I want you to act.
Right.
Like, it just seems like too traumatizing.
Yeah, like I feel
You know what
like,
I mean?
I feel like it's especially that degree of like having known people
Right?
that like it's like no, like I could never even pretend to do that
Yeah,
shit.
no, like the aftermath of like if that actually happens is just so serious and like sometimes truly ruins people's lives that
Yeah.
like just to like play at it feels very bizarre to me.
yeah, no, like it's like no.
And like I'm someone who can like fully understand being like tie me up, right? All that fun stuff, like
That shit I can understand infinitely more.
right, like do like getting like rough and aggressive, all that jazz, great, right?
Mhm.
Like you're both into it, you know what you can handle,
Right.
all that stuff. Go fucking nuts.
Right.
But like playing at something that's like
One of the worst things
yeah,
somebody
like
can
just
do.
something that's so traumatizing to so many people, like why?
Yeah.
It seems very bizarre. It's one of those things where I'm like, if I ever met somebody who was like, I want you to do that, I'll be like, find someone else.
Yeah.
Like I literally cannot.
Like, good luck to you. I hope you find the person you're looking for, you know? But, like,
Because the second if I feel like somebody, even if I feel like somebody is not having like a good time, I would be like, is everything okay? Like, are we still good here?
yeah.
Even if they're not saying that they're not having a good time, even if they're just like going about their business, but I feel like they're not having a good time, I'm like, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, no, like, the moment you feel like something's off,
It's like a
I'm
panic.
out.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to be hurting you.
Yeah, like the moment something feels off, it's like, I'm no longer about this. Like, let's deal with
Yeah.
you. Like, let's make sure you're fine. Like, we can get laid another time. Like,
yeah, like if something's wrong, please tell me, because I'm not gonna keep doing whatever it is that if you're not liking it, you know.
Like, yeah.
Ugh.
No.
Yeah.
And I think again, it's the thing of like, once it's in person, it's out.
There are certain things that once it's in person, and I am such a guilty party of this, because one of my fantasies, like my ultimate fantasy, is to have a gangbang, but I also know myself so well that I would literally never do that.
I was gonna say, like, I've known you, and I
would literally never do that. I would freak out so fast.
I feel like you would be like, you'd plan this. It would be coming together. The night would get there. Everyone's showing up, and then you're just like in the corner, being like, so glad everyone's having a good time. And just be like, I don't want to be a part of this, but I'm glad everyone's having fun. I'm going to go downstairs, get like some chips. Anyone want it? No?
Yeah, I would literally be like panicking in the corner. But it's that thing of like the disconnect, you know what I mean? Where you're like, fantasy me is like, hell yeah. And then like I think about it, like if I actually actualize my plans, I'm like shaking like a leaf.
100%.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's those things where like sometimes late night you're like, should I question this? And you're like, it's not real. Like, I understand it's not real.
There's also times where like you're ever like you're by yourself and you're like, I don't know, like 15 tabs deep, and you're like, if somebody just walked in right now, you know what I mean? Because you know when like sometimes you get into that like spiral of it's just getting like not worse but weirder as you go. And so you've ended up in a very strange place and you don't really know how you got there, but you're still like kind of intrigued.
It's like their YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's
but
like
for cultured.
Yeah. It's that, and you're like, if somebody walked in right now and they saw this, I think they might judge me.
Yeah.
Like
do you remember when I sent you that thing where it was like, I don't want any judgment for this. I was just a lot of tabs deep, and I found this.
Yes, that exactly.
Yeah. All right, I want to preface, get friends that you can just send cultured shit to that you find randomly, and you're like, I can't believe this is real.
Literally, Mike once sent me, he's like, because I had to see this, even though I don't know how I ended up here, but I had to see and read this, and now I'm sending it to you because you have to suffer with me.
Yeah. And like, get a friend that will absolutely be like, I'm in.
You're like, all right.
Her immediate response was, all right, show it to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah.
And then like, it wasn't even anything like particularly bad, but I was just like, this is so weird. Like, it was just something I personally didn't even think somebody would do, if that makes sense. And I'm like, I don't know if this is like meant to be a joke or if someone's like super serious about it.
Right.
Because if it's a joke, that's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the funniest things
Absolutely.
I've ever seen. If it's serious, I think you might need help.
Yeah.
Like those are the only extremes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get yourself a friend that's cool with you sending them cultured shit.
If you don't have friends that are like super cool about like cultured anime, get new friends.
100%. like I have you. And like to a lesser degree, Colin.
Yeah, because I feel like in the group chat with the three of us, like you'll send stuff, but it will be like fairly tame.
Yeah, it's also Twitter, so you know it's like.
No. In the
yeah.
In the other one, like it's fairly tame, but then you'll send me separate stuff, and I'm like.
I know exactly the things that I could send you that you like. It's also the same things with like TikTok,
right?
Where I'm like, I know I could send you this, and you'll be like, this is funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same shit.
Yeah, it's that same like wavelength.
Yeah, 100%. All right,
so. Sorry.
What a great cultured corner this has been.
This has been a very good culture corner. I feel like the audience has learned a lot.
They have learned a lot about us.
And I feel like in this episode though, you can't put like any like reference images. It will just black boxes.
It's just black box shows up, black box goes on. It's just numbers. It's with the numbers.
Yes. I feel like that would be smart actually, but we didn't like reference any.
No, because also any of the ones we referenced were questionable things.
Oh, so yeah. We don't want people to think we're like weird.
Like the people that know, know the spiral.
Right.
People know the you're just tags
It-
deep and
you're-
you've stumbled upon.
I feel like it's a thing that also happens like between like cultured anime, cultured manga, and fan fictions where like
Right.
there are times where I will read, for the most part I like to read long ones because
Yeah.
2,000 words, what is that?
Plot's important. Look,
That's
I
literally
have-
such a waste of my time.
I have been spending most of my life looking at cultured manga.
Yeah.
At this point, plot's important.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you go to the 20-page ones just because you're just in there for in and out.
Yeah, like
you
a
know?
little like quick funsies type deal
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, you're just in for the in and out. But like at this point, I want the plot. I want this shit to be like great.
Yeah, I need like speaking of which, do you ever read light novels?
Like actual like real ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they good? Should I read them?
Depends what you're looking for. Some can be god awful.
Oh.
Like
Alright.
you kind of gotta find something that you're looking for. Like Konosuba, that's a light novel.
Right.
That's what it started as.
Right.
So like there are good light novels. You just need to find them.
Gotcha.
Like Sword Art's a light novel. It's right behind you.
I don't think it's good.
But I'm saying like
Right,
you know,
right.
but yeah, so like
Sorry to deviate.
No, no. I once you've been doing it for so long,
Yeah.
you have just stumbled upon the most cursed shit. Like just because that's the nature of it, you know.
And I also think it's a thing of like
Morbid curiosity.
morbid curiosity is so real. It's
Sure
ridiculous.
is.
But it's also a thing of like, I think I feel like most people, you start off and you're like, everything is like fairly tame, right? And then you're like, ooh, let me sprinkle a little bit of this in. That will be saucy. And then you're like, oh, let's give this a whirl, right? And you get to a point where like you've kind of seen a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So when you get into the weird rabbit hole and you're like really far in, you're like, this is something I haven't seen and I wish I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's that one I'm gonna send you where it's like, how did I end up here?
Yeah.
I've seen all of these tags before, but never to this degree.
But
And
not
you-
in this way.
and you're just like, there were some things in here that were like, all right, but there were a lot of questionable things. We were like,
You gotta rate.
I've just lived in this life for long enough.
Do you ever like? Are you ever like so far deep where you're just like, not even like a retrospective thing, but you're like, why am I reading this?
Yeah.
Like midway through.
Yeah, yeah, because like, again, you can if you're looking for it, you can find like 3 pages that you could just stick to and get your business with, you know,
Right.
and then you could just like keep going,
Right.
Because like, even in the most cursed shit, there's usually at least a page or 2 that you could just like stick to.
Right, because I feel like the majority is gonna have at least 1 to 5 pages of like very generic,
Yeah, yeah.
where it's like,
And then-
here's the action.
Yeah.
That's like fairly normal.
Right, and then the rest of it's like back
and
to
then
cursed shit.
And then it will divulge.
Yeah, because like sometimes you're not there for that. Like
Right.
sometimes like you find those 5 pages or whatever, and you're like, all right, cool, like I could do something. And then you get back and you're like, all right, I'm not doing anything to the rest of this.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway,
Anyway.
well, welcome to our third, I guess, cultured corner. I think, or second. I don't remember exactly.
I don't think
We
it's
did
the
take a
third.
break for a bit.
Yeah.
You guys won't see that.
I don't
but
think it was. I don't think it's a third.
yeah. Well, either way,
Either way.
welcome to the cultured corner. You know, not every time me and Sage are here are gonna be cultured, but
Yeah. Last time we talked about Korra.
yeah. And I think we had 3 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So I think the other one was just actual anime.
I think so too.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, we're just the weebs.
Yeah.
We have the opinions about very specific things, and we're also degenerates.
Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes.
So, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, thank you for joining us this week. I forgot what I'm supposed to be saying. It's been a minute.
You have
don't
1 week
yeah, wait,
left.
This is your job. This is your job.
Oh. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. You have 1 week left to watch Banana Fish, which I am so sorry is still only on Amazon. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and rate and review us. And watch Anthony at Super Milkshake and
On YouTube.
and Kat at Kat the Moonstar on Twitch. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Woohoo!
it. Nailed it. All right. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.